Good afternoon. This is the video feedback for AHL at Home Learning, April 6th through 10th, session 2. The topic is finding slope, and slope is the rise of a graph divided by the run of the graph. On graphs, please pay attention to the scale. First question, find the slope of the line. The first thing you should do is look at the line and see if it is a positive slope line, and it is, and so our slope will be positive. I'm going to pay attention to my dots, and I'm going to travel my rise and then my run. My rise is 1, 2 up. And my run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 right. Those are both positive words, so my answer is 2/5. Find the slope of the line. If I'm looking at this line, I notice that it has a negative slope. Therefore, when my final answer will be negative. Here is my dots. I am going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. Down is a negative word. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right. That is equal to -5/5, which is equal to -1. The next one is find the slope of the line. I again notice that it is a positive slope. I go to my dots. I look at my dots. I travel rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 up. I then travel 2 to the right. Positive up is a positive word, right is a positive word, so that is 5/2 for your final answer. On this one, you can do it from the graph or the table. I'm going to do it from the table first. I'm going to look at this dot and this dot. I can choose any of the dots. I am going 2 up, 2 right, which is 2/2, which is simplified to 1. So my slope is 1. I also can use the table, and when I use the table, I'm going to use these points right here. I like them the best. I'm going to put them here, and this is 3, and then 5, and 2, and then 4. And this is my X, and these are my Y's. And my rise is the change of Y, which is +2. My change of X, which is +2. 2/2 equals 1. I get the same answer. On this one, I would prefer to use the table because notice that the graph is going by 2's. And so I am going to actually use the table, and I am going to use this one right here. I'm going to modify the table. I have an 8 and a 13 for my X's. I'm going to use the 0 and the 1 for my Y's. I can use any of the points. I just picked the other one. I picked those because they are positive. My change of Y is +1. My change of X is +5. It's 1/5. My apologies, there is a mistake on this chart because that should be a negative. Because if you look at this point right here, this point right here is 8 to negative 9. So I would be going from the origin 8 across and 9 down. So in the making of this document, the negative was left off the table. I will use, because the dots are not in the not on a crosshair, I will use the table, and I'm going to use these guys right here. I'm going to have my x's here, my y's here. I have a 5 here and an 8 here. I have a negative 5 here and a negative 9 here. My change of y is negative 4. My change of x is positive 3. My slope is the change of y over the change of x, and that is my final answer. Determine the slope of a roof of a home that rises 8 feet for every horizontal change of 24. And I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to pretend that that is on a coordinate grid, and this line has a positive slope. The rise, and it even tells you that the rise is 8. So the rise is 8 with the run, and it doesn't say run, but it says horizontal change of 24. And when I simplify that, that is 1/3. The next problem, determine the slope of a mountain that descends. So the word descends is going to help you out 100 meters for every horizontal distance of 1,000 meters. Also, if you draw your graph, you would notice that this is a negative slope. The rise or the descent is 100, but because it's a descent, it's a negative 100. The horizontal distance is 1,000. When we simplify this, we simplify by dividing it by that. Therefore, our final answer is negative 1/10. Determine the slope of the line that passes through each pair of points. I'm going to do it by formula. I'm going to actually do this problem 2 ways. I'm going to do it by formula, and that is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Therefore, it is 7 minus 3 over 4 minus 1, which is equal to 4/3. I also can do this by stacked tables. 1, 3, 4, 7. I'm just stacking it, the coordinate points. Here's my x and my y. My change of y is adding 4. My change of x is adding 3. My slope is 4/3. Determine the slope of the line that passes through each pair of points. Formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is 6 minus 5 over 2 minus 3, which is 1 over negative 1, which is negative 1. By stacked table, I have 3, 5, 2, 6. Here's my x's, here's my y. Change of y, I'm adding 1. Change of x, I'm subtracting 1. It's the y over the x, which is negative 1. Either way you choose to do it, you will get the same answer. By formula, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So it will be 5 minus 0 over 5 minus 4, which is 5 over 1, which is 5. By stacked tables, it is 4, 0, 5, 5. Here's my x's, here's my y's. Adding 5, adding 1. 5 over 1 is still 5. I actually had to do the entire video a second time because when I was previewing this, I blew this question because in the earlier ones I said, hey, make sure you look at your scales on your graphs. They will cause a problem. I didn't. This caused a problem. Use the graph below. It shows the depth of the feet of snow after each 2-hour period during the snowstorm. Pay attention to these are going by 2s. These are going basically by 1, a half. So everyone is a half. So when you are doing this and you're going from a point, I am going to take this point and I am going to take this point. Because from here, this is going from 1 to 2, which is a rise of 1. And I am going from 4 to 8, which is 4. So that is a rise of 1 and a run of 4. So your slope is 1/4. Another way you could do that is you could name this point right here, which is 4, 1, and name this point right here, which is 8, 2, and do it by modified table, and this is +1 and +4, which is 1/4. I had to actually make this recording twice because this first time that I did it, I did not pay attention to my scale. This says determine the slope of the line. We have done it twice. We got 1/4. Does the graph show a constant rate of change? Yes. Any straight line has a constant rate of change. If the graph is extended to the right, would you expect the slope to remain constant? Explain your answer. So if you are talking about a mathematical graph, yes, the graph is extended. It would expect the slope to remain the same. I did find an answer that said no, it wouldn't stay the same because it would eventually stop snowing. So if we are looking at a graph, yes, this is a line and the slope would remain constant. That is the definition of a line. If you have any questions, please email me and we will talk about this. Have a nice afternoon.